Hi, so this video is how I visited every MBTA station in 32 days. Okay, so why would I do this? Right, I can hear you asking that. Uh, the main reason was I wanted to get to see the city, right? I've been living in Boston for a while, but I haven't really seen very much outside of the area I live, so this was a great opportunity. Also, I've always kind of been a collector, and this seemed like the perfect collecting habit. It's cheap, just $2.40 per day. Maybe you have to pay for two or three trains, so it ends up being like $7 a day. The whole thing ends up being like $200 for the whole collection. Also, you don't end up with a bunch of crap around your house, which is great. And really, at the end of the day, all the money goes towards supporting local transit, a good cause.
Okay, wait, so why did it take me 32 days? That's a lot.
So this wasn't really a speed run. Parts of it had a speedrunish vibe, but I wasn't really trying to get through everything as quickly as possible.
And this wasn't a consecutive 32 days. It took place over the period of 9 months and, just whenever I had time on weekends and that kind of thing.
Okay, so what are the rules? To prevent myself from turning into a menace, I made it so that I need to get on or off a train at a particular stop in order to count it as a visit, so that I'm not like jumping off, taking a picture, and then jumping back onto the same train. And also, I can't get on a train at a station I just got off a train at. So, in practice, what this means is I need to go to one station by train, and then I'll walk to the next station, and then I'll take a train to the next, etc. But I could do more complicated maneuvers, which you'll see. And, I wasn't exactly paying for everyone on the green line, but, I think it's within the spirit of the rules to just pay once if I'm basically just taking a single train, but split across multiple different rolling stocks. Okay, so now for the journey. Throughout this, I'm always going to have the station I'm visiting top left, the date and time of the visit on the bottom left, the proof of life selfie on the right. Honestly, I've done more selfies for this project than I have in the rest of my life put together, probably by a factor of 10. And then on the left, of course, is the map. So here, what I've done is I've made a Voronoi diagram of all these stations, and everything is in red if I have not visited it, and over time, more and more of the map will be uncovered. For day one, this is kind of the reason why I started the whole thing. I ended up going out to Revere Beach just because I felt like it, and I thought, you know what, might as well start this project. So I took the train out to Wonderland, transferring at Government Center, so transfer stops do count. I then walked back to Revere Beach and then took the train to State, then walked to Downtown Crossing and took the train back home to Central. Day two was pretty boring. I just knocked off Porter Square. For day three, I biked down to Ruggles, and then I took the Orange Line into Chinatown, then walked to Park. I then took the train home to Kendall this time and walked home from there instead. On day four, I was just incidentally at Harvard, so I got a picture. On day five, I took the train in to Charles, then walked to Boylston and took the train to Copley, then biked home.
On day 6, I went to Davis and then Alewife, finishing up the Red Line in Cambridge. Day 7 and 8 used an inefficient routing strategy where I just went to places I would be going anyway and took more stops. This got me Hines, Summit, Washington, Tappan, St. Mary's, Hawes, Coolidge, St. Paul's, Kenmore. On day 9, I went to North Station, then walked to Haymarket, then took the train down to Tufts Medical Center. No idea what I was doing on day 10, but I knocked out Union Square and Arlington, which are on opposite sides of the city. On day 11, I decided to finish up the C branch of the Green Line entirely, going to Cleveland, Englewood, Dean, Fairbanks, Brandon, and Kent. On day 12, I decided to put a dent in the Green Line extension, getting Lechmere, Medford, Ball Square, Magoon, before taking a terrifying bike ride over to Sullivan and Ettingham. On day 13, I got started on the B branch, hitting Blandford, Babcock, Harvard, and Amory, and on day 14, I incidentally hit Beaconsfield. On day 15, I hit Community College and Massachusetts Avenue. The next couple days, which were over the course of a couple months, were all incidental. I got Aquarium on day 16, South on day 17, BU Central on day 18, and Science Park on day 19. On day 20, I finished up the Green Line extension, hitting up Gilman Square in East Somerville, then went to Assembly, finally finishing the day at Bowdoin, completing downtown. We're now in the final stretch. Doesn't really seem like it because there's so much red on the map. But from here on, every weekend I tried to get several done in at least one of the days on the weekend. On day 21, I decided to do a big chunk at the Green Line E branch, getting Symphony, MFA, Northeastern, Brigham Circle, Fenwood, and Prudential. Day 22, I cleaned up the remaining parts of the eastern part of the B branch, hitting up Packard's Corner and BU East. On day 23, I decided to finish up the interlined part of the Red Line, hitting Andrew, JFK, and Broadway, before heading to the Orange Line and hitting Back Bay and Roxbury Crossing. I was feeling particularly ambitious on day 24, so I decided to finish up the entire Red Line's A branch, including the Mattapan line. This involved hitting Ashmont, Milton, Central Ave, Valley Road, Capon Street, Mattapan, Butler, Cedar Grove, Shawmut, Fields Corner, and Seven Hill. Day 25 was particularly productive in that I both completed the Blue Line, visiting Maverick, Airport, Wood Island, Orient Heights, Suffolk Downs, and Beachmont, and also completed the E branch of the Green Line, visiting Longwood Medical Area, Mission Park, Heath Street, Back of the Hill, and Riverway. And that's not all, I also did a bit of the D branch, hitting Brookline Hills, Brookline Village, Longwood, and Fenway. On day 26, I decided to finally finish up the B branch of the Green Line, hitting Grigg Street, Alton Street, Warren Street, Washington Street, Sutherland Road, Chiswick Avenue, Chestnut Hill Avenue, South Street, and finally Boston College. On day 27, I decided to finish up the Orange Line, hitting Forest Hills, Green Street, Stony Brook, Jackson Square, Malden Center, Oak Grove, and Wellington. I then, and I know this is the second time I've done this, I never learn, took an extremely terrifying bike ride across the Mystic to Chelsea, where I then went to Bellingham Square, Box District, and Eastern Avenue, finishing up the SL3, the first of the silver lines I completed. On day 29, I tried to finish up the red lines, but after hitting up Braintree and Quincy Adams, I realized that I needed to be in Brookline for an event. On day 30, the next day, I came back to finish up the work, hitting Wollaston, North Quincy, and Quincy Center. I then decided to deal with the Silver Lines 4 and 5, hitting Chinatown, Herald Street, East Berkeley Street, Union Park Street, Newton Street, Massachusetts Avenue, Worcester Square, Lenox Street, Melanocass Boulevard, and Nubian. Continuing on the same day, this is the same day, I decided to finish up the SL2, doing Courthouse, World Trade Center, Silver Line Way, Harbor Street, Tide Street, 23 Dry Dock, 27 Dry Dock, Design Center, and Black Falcon Avenue. Day 31, I was kind of doing a race against time. I needed to finish up the D line, but I also needed to be somewhere at 6:30. So I went to Riverside, then walked to Woodland, then took the train to Wayband, then walked to Elliott, then took the train to Newton Highlands. Without this next step, it would have been impossible. I then biked to Newton Center, then took the train to Chestnut Hill, then walked to Reservoir, then headed to the event in Brookline. All that was left was the airport, so on day 32, I went to Terminal A, the first stop of Terminal B, the second stop of Terminal B, C, and E, finishing up my tour of the entire MBTA. So, what were the highlights of the experience? One of them was that the city varies so much, and there's so many amazing places around it, and I got to visit all of them. It was amazing. This is kind of part of the previous one, but specifically the Mattapan line is great, and I think that if you're visiting Boston and you're into transit, you should just visit. It's really cool. And really, for your own city, I thoroughly encourage you to do this. It's a fun experience. It's a great way to get out on weekends, and you get to see your city. Pretty cheap hobby too. Fully recommend. So for what's next, I've been doing this thing called Wanderer for a long time that kind of records where you've walked and tries to make sure that you've mapped every street. So I'm going to try to do that just for the city of Cambridge and then maybe the northern parts of Boston. The other thing more along these lines is that we've got this bike share program called Blue Bikes, and the app tells you like which ones you've been to. And I feel like trying to go to as many of them as possible would be really fun too for a similar reason. A different kind of area that you go to with those rather than train stations. So yeah, I'll keep you all updated when I finish one of those other ones. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.